Now that you've mapped out your North Stars, the next thing we need to do is build out our annual outcomes. So these are the outcomes that are going to happen in the next 12 months. Now, if you're starting this in January, it's really easy to just go to January. If you're not starting in January, you have choices. You can either go 12 months out from the month you're in. Let's say you're starting in March, you can do March to March, and that's perfectly fine. Otherwise, what you can do is just go from March till December, and obviously not set a full 12-month outcome, but something that can be achieved by the end of that timeline in December. And then you can just start fresh January of the next year. However you want to do it, perfectly fine. So we already talked about the difference between outcomes and goals. So here we're setting outcomes. And what you want to do is set 3 outcomes for each North Star. And what I like to do is think of them as must, should, and could. You don't have to do it that way, but I find it an easy way to prioritize your 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 has to be done. It must be done no matter what. If you only were able to do one of the 3 and you did number 1, it's still going to move you forward towards that North Star or that higher outcome. So thinking of it that way allows you to prioritize it. So list out 3 outcomes per North Star. For example, if your North Star was to be an amazing father, then you would probably have some outcomes for the year like this. I spent one-on-one time weekly with each kid. I think that would certainly move you towards being an amazing father. And it's something that you can speak past tense, and it's something for the year. And you can see that by looking at each of these must, should, and could. If I only incorporated the first one, that would move me towards that North Star for sure. Even if we never went on vacations, or we only went on one vacation under the should column right there, if that didn't happen, but the must still happened, then I would be satisfied with that. So it's a pretty simple concept. So now we're going to move into actually building out our annual outcomes in the worksheet. So I want you to choose one of your North Stars, and I want you to write down 3 outcomes for each of those: must, should, and could. And one way to ensure that you're kind of on the right track with building a good outcome is to ask yourself these 4 questions. Number 1, is it written in past tense as if it has already happened? If yes, okay, then we're good. If not, then obviously you need to rewrite your outcome, because these should be written as if you're in the moment at the end of the year saying this to yourself. Number 2, does it align with a North Star? If it doesn't, you need to revisit, remap, because the whole point of this is to move you in that direction. Number 3, is it realistic within the time frame? Only you can answer this. And most of the time, we underestimate what we can actually do. So just really put yourself in that position. Really think to yourself when you're saying these outcomes, is this something that can actually get done? Is this something that's feasible? And if the answer is yes, then it's a good outcome. If it's maybe yes, it still could be a good outcome. But I don't want you to think that you can write down, I want to add $50 million, or I will have $50 million in my pocket. Is that feasible? I don't know. You know better than I do. So ask yourself that just as kind of a check to make sure that it's something that can be done and that you're willing to put in the work for. And if it is, then okay, let's move on to number 4. Lastly, does it excite you? If it doesn't, it's not a good outcome. You're going to burn out. You're going to lose motivation. It's not going to be worth it. So it needs to be something that can keep you motivated, can kind of keep you excited as you go out through this mind-numbing daily new habit that you're about to start. And I say that because it's not easy to do this day in and day out, but it is what is necessary if you want to set outcomes that come true in your life. So let's move over to the worksheet. All right, so over in the worksheet, you'll see that if you click on these little arrows here, it will expand hidden rows. So there's a bunch of hidden rows for the quarters, for the months, for the weeks, and they're all hidden. So I went ahead and expanded it to show the year, and I've hidden the rest of them for the sake of this module. And as we move through the next modules, we'll be expanding as we go. But I do recommend collapsing the months or the areas that you're not quite to yet, just to keep your focus on what's really important. All right, so you can see how I've structured this here. For each North Star, A, B, and C, you can go to as many as you want. I've listed a must, should, and could for each of those. Again, use Alt plus Enter to make new lines. You can just double click in here, edit, take these out, etc. Spend some time on this. Like I said, go through that litmus test of, is this a good outcome or not, as you're going through each of these, and really try to make these as good, realistic, and achievable as possible. These are things you're going to be thinking about every single day for the remaining 12 months. So I gave you some examples here to help you with building your outcomes. Go through each of these. You can kind of see how they work, get some ideas, but take time, fill this out for yourself. At the end of the year, we're going to be going through this review process, which we're going to talk about in another video. So you can just leave this as 1, 2, 3 for now. You're not going to touch this column until the end of the year. So we'll just leave it here as it is. So take some time, fill out your annual outcomes, and then we'll move on to the next step.